Dear kids, this is what your grandmas looked like in the 80s. I'm Akorn. Welcome back to Gen X and Millennial Memes, where we remember when cartoons ended with a good moral to the story, phones had cords, and nobody cared about your pronouns, just your cassette collection. Alabama dealership offers Bible, shotgun, and American flag with every car purchase. It's about time they bring that deal back. 80s movies had us thinking we were all gone alive by either quicksand or piranhas. That was two of the major themes that we saw. 1980. I bet there'll be flying cars in the future. 2025. Your recent social media post was deemed offensive. You have been restricted from driving for 48 hours. This is a meme now, but it'll be a fact very soon. Before YouTube, this man showed us funny videos. That is very true. It really was YouTube of the day. People from all over would send in tapes to the show, hoping that their video would make it on TV. I've reached the age where I drive around and say, dang, I remember when this was all woods. What does it look like I do for a living? Solve mysteries with a dog. Therapist. Where do your self-control issues with substances stem from? Somebody let a Gen Z write this, didn't they? Moving the TV to another room in the 90s. Hey, you're lucky. It only took one person. Back in the 70s and 80s, it could take anywhere between 2 and 4 people. And if that wasn't difficult enough for you, you could always try to take it upstairs. No screens, no navigation, just beautiful simplicity. I hope whoever's decision it was to change McDonald's from what they were to what they are now is in prison. They probably are. I've mentioned it in past shows, that all the new McDonald's looks like a fast food joint if it were in prison. Even a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, the most evil person in the universe was a politician. Fact check true. They're disappearing, even if you're not watching. VHS tapes lose up to 20% of their quality every decade. Digitize now or risk losing them forever. Just a PSA, especially when it comes to home video recordings. Movies and things like that, you can always get digital versions, but you'll never be able to replace the home videos. Kids have safety scissors now, but we were totally allowed to use the classroom guillotine at 10 years old. Fact check true. Some come from the generation of, if you quit crying, I'll buy you something. We come from, if you don't quit crying, I'll give you something to cry about. It's absolutely true, and we were a lot better off because of it too. Hell have no fury like GM seatbelts in July. I'd say that there's a few of us that still have the scars or where we were branded by GM. I think these look a lot like the same buckles that's in my truck. It's just been a while since I've actually looked at them. Atari was wild for this one. Stevie Wonder. If I could play video games, you bet it would be Atari. Just why? Could they not really find another spokesperson or another singer or actor who can endorse Atari? You know, somebody that could actually play it? Couldn't you just see the reaction from people if they did this today? I grew up in a time where you don't drive off until you know they made it in the house safe. That is very true, and it should be a rule now, especially with how bad things are these days. I'm not going to read all of these, but this is pretty much true, especially the bottom right panel concerning today. Remember when tech just worked? No logins, no downloads, just plug and play. Simpler times. And no subscriptions either. The I grew up with no internet starter pack. Was this on Windows 95 or 98? Because I know it didn't come on any edition before 95. Me in 1987 waiting for a 5-minute TV commercial to end. Me in 2024 waiting 4 seconds to skip a YouTube ad. We all know this is true, but it's the only way that this channel and most channels can possibly exist on YouTube. Otherwise, you'd mostly be left with businesses and corporate news. An island of luxury, the 1984 Chrysler Fifth Avenue. I'd say about a third of you guys will know what the G stands for. That moment when the wind shifts, the skies darken, and every country kid knows it's about to get good. Not everyone gets the chance to grow old, so appreciate every single day of your life. I called Miss Cleo in 2002, still paying off that phone bill. How many of you millennials tried to call in to shows like this when you were a kid? Quarantine. Day 1. Day 30. Expiration dates are just for the week. That's why we had a lot better immune systems back then. How many of you guys believe that the special effects that was used in movies back in the day was a lot better than the CGI effects that is used today? Here's just one example that's pretty interesting to see how exactly that they actually did it.
How do you make a house implode? Well, this is how they did it in Poltergeist.
Exploding is easy. Imploding is something else.
Someone actually said, well, why don't you just blow it up and put the film backward? That isn't imploding. You can't do that. It needs to implode.
Everything you did had to look real. We built a miniature of the house with a garage.
It had little bicycles in the inside, it had lawnmowers.
Rakes. There was furniture inside the house.
It was built out of balsa wood and paper, and I soaked them in bleach and water so that the balsa wood lost its energy so that they would snap like pasta does.
We were using hundreds of pieces of piano wire attached to pieces of the model. And this whole mass of wires were attached to a forklift. The idea was the forklift was going to take off, and at a certain point, it's going to just pull this thing over. And I had a pair of shotguns. The shotguns were to help it down into the hole, because it all had to be pulled down into this hole that was about this big. This is a one-trick baby. I mean, to do this again would have been another 50, 60 grand or something like that, at least.
7-year-old me looking at my mom through the McDonald's play place window when she's saying time to leave. Yeah, kind of. Just another example, though, about how cats are actually a liquid. Raise your hand if you still watch cartoons and don't care how old you are. Gotta be careful about what angle that you raise your arm at these days. That is, if you actually care what other people say or think. Old school selfie. There's some people these days that wouldn't see the problem with this. Back when your couch included a new car. That is pretty much true, but they were really comfortable seats. the government is using fake hornets' nests to hide face recognition cameras. Whenever you see one, hit it with a stick to destroy the cameras. You know the sad part? This probably is true in some place. They've already been hiding them as many other things. A hornet's nest actually makes a whole lot of sense. Most people would never bother it. You better make sure it's a camera before you start beating it with a stick, though. The official field trip Yeti in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, and it worked pretty well, too. In the early 2000s, accidentally opening the web browser on your phone was a $17 panic attack. I had forgot about this, but yeah, how many times have we accidentally opened the web browser? Especially on some of the phones, which actually had a dedicated button to open the browser, which they obviously added to it just so they could charge us more money for every time we hit that button. Randy Johnson kept a bag of baseballs near his bed for protection in case somebody broke into his house. I don't own a lead dispenser, but I keep a bag of baseballs near our bed. If someone breaks in, they had better be wearing a batting helmet because I'm gonna throw at their heads. He definitely had one heck of a fastball, but there is only one particular play that really comes to mind anytime I think of Randy Johnson. And I'd say most of you know exactly the one I mean. How different elements produce different colored fireworks. Yeah, we found out about the bottom center one back when we were in school. I don't think they got the copper one correct though, unless it's because of whatever they add to it, because copper normally burns green, or at the very least a bluish green. Did everyone have to cut up an owl hairball that had a mouse skeleton in it during elementary school? Or am I just making this up? No, we definitely did that. As a matter of fact, I had to do it several times through school, mostly because I moved a lot. The last time I had to do it, I was actually already in high school. If you remember this, your lower back probably hurts right now. Maybe we just spent too many hours playing solitaire. On the other hand, this is just Windows 98. The next thing you know, they'll be saying the same thing about Windows XP. How many of our parents had one of these, or something very similar? I don't think we had one of these style of cassette recorders. However, my dad did have a microphone that was very similar to that, including the little stand. He used it, along with a regular cassette deck in our stereo, to record ministry teachings, which he then paid to have put on the radio. This was better than screens. I agree 100%. I've never had a vehicle with all these screens in it, but I've seen quite a number of them. And one thing I don't understand, it's against the law now to hold or even touch a cell phone, but yet I had someone tell me that they have to flip through 3 different screens in their car just so they can turn their AC on. To me, that sounds even worse than texting. Why do men fart more often than women? Because women don't close their mouths long enough to build up the pressure. You've never really lived if you never had a car with a dead battery. Had to push it, jump in, put it in first gear, and pop the clutch. Yeah, that was our jump start box. I actually knew guys that did this every day, just so they didn't have to buy a new battery. In the 90s, computers would scream every time you went online. That was a foreshadowing. Well, these days, computers can basically hold a pretty good conversation. So take that however you will. I'd say most of us here on the channel know exactly what this is, and it even comes with wood paneling. If I could go back to one day, it'd be one just like this. Some of you never grew up having this fiery spit of Satan dabbed on every skin, knee, and cut, and it shows. If you ever fall over in public, pick yourself up and say, "Sorry, it's been a while since I inhabited a body," and just walk away. There's your pro tip. We'd leave the house for 14 hours, return dirty, bruised, and sunburnt, and our parents were just like, "Did you have fun?" Yes, we did. How many of you guys remember the ALF wristwatch? I have to admit, I don't think that I remember ever seeing one of these before. All you kids with your Fortnites and Black Ops, y'all wouldn't even make it past the Kansas River. This is actually one game I'd like to play again. I'm sure there's an online version of it somewhere by now. The mud will wash off. Things old guys say. Newsflash, buddy. What's the damage? Yellow. See you later, alligator. Look what the cat dragged in. You and what army? Hate to burst your bubble, snowflake. Just let me sneak past you. No more Mr. Nice Guy. Don't mind if I do. Nice blinker. Ready to rock and roll? It's not the heat, it's the humidity. Well, what else you gonna say? It's just a fact. Cool your jets. Are you working hard or hardly working? This list is pretty true, but what other phrases would you guys add? Drop it down in the comments. Gen X after 40. Well, I'm not quite that bad, but I'm sure some of us may look that way, or even worse. This is Pink Floyd. They're not wrong. They had to come out with artificial intelligence because there ain't much real intelligence left. Man, ain't that the sad truth. A lot of people already knows what this is actually about. If you don't know, go watch last Sunday's show. I didn't watch this show all that often back then, and I certainly don't remember this clip, but I have to say, it is a pretty good one.
Yes, officers, there's something wrong?
Have you seen this boy?
Me waiting for the radio to play a song I know. When you're officially older than the parents you watched on TV. I told my kids if they beat this, I'd buy them a PS5. If they could get an old NES system to actually work long enough, especially with this being nearly 40 years later, I'd say that they would eventually beat this, but it's definitely a big difference from the games that they're used to playing these days. Before there was iPhone versus Android, before there was Windows versus Macintosh, there was PC-DOS versus MS-DOS. And if you ever had to make that choice, check your mailbox. Your AARP card just arrived. When mom was sick, so dad dressed you for picture day. Could have been worse. A cement truck crashed near Wauganon, Oklahoma in the 1950s, and the mixer was too heavy to move. It's still there. Locals have painted it to look like an abandoned NASA capsule. It's probably where they got their design from. The Oregon Trail taught me two things. Everyone's gone on alive, and don't trust rivers. I've talked the talk and walked the walk. Now at my age, I'm just gonna set the set. I heard my dad laughing upstairs. I asked him what was so funny, and he sent me this. Is land isn't land. Well, they're not wrong. The older you get, the more you feel homesick for a version of life that doesn't exist anymore. Bad hairstyles of the 80s. Anybody else play with a blood pressure machine while your parents were shopping? It might have been fun for kids when those first started being a thing, but I really wish we didn't need them these days. They need to start bringing stuff like this back to the modern schools and start teaching today's generation to be able to fully read, write, and at least do basic math. Today's school system as a whole is a complete and total failure because of instead of an education, all kids get is propaganda. What was your grandpa's name? I need an old-fashioned boy's name. My grandfather's name was Gilbert. My dad's middle name was supposed to be Gilbert, but on his birth certificate, it just had the letter G. It's just how it was back then. In 1793, pirates hijacked the ship carrying metric standards bound for the U.S., derailing its planned adoption of the system, leaving the nation measuring in inches and pounds ever since. How many of you guys remember the days when we didn't have to have two sets of tools just to work on anything? You gotta have two full sets of sockets, two full sets of wrenches, two full sets of Allen keys, and so many other things. Boomers keep repeating the same old tropes about how they had to walk uphill both ways just to get to school. I'm really glad we were so much more fortunate. When we went to elementary school in Yorksville, Ohio, we only had to walk up 109 steps every day. And that was after we crossed the highway where the bus offloaded us without a crossing guard in sight. And I would rather go to that school than any modern school and experience the nonsense that is taught in classrooms today. I agree 100%. Life is like a box of chocolates. It doesn't last as long for fat people. That sounds pretty much exactly like something we would say back when we were kids. Colonel Sanders in 1967. If you guys don't know the true story about Colonel Sanders, go look it up sometime. It's actually really interesting.
Good handles.
Just put a little weight on the heel.
Oh, he's out of town.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Can you feel it?
Yeah.
So before you close that strap, we can tighten it more if you want. There's buttons right here on the inside of your pant leg. There's a, I don't know if you can see this red one.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and press that green button there. That'll tighten.
Oh, that's insane.
Power laces, all right.
I came, I saw, I forgot what I was doing, retraced my steps, and got distracted on my way back. I have no idea what's going on, and now I have to pee. You wake up. It's 1985. The last 4 decades were just a dream. You fell asleep with your Pioneer stereo on and wake up to the sound of Casey Kasem's American Top 40. The sunlight cuts through your curtains, and life feels like it makes sense again. Yeah, that should be the new slogan. Make America make sense again. Breaking. Costco is introducing its own Buy Now, Pay Later program. Adults in the 80s. Our child will have a bigger house than ours and a better paying job. Adults now. I have hot dog debt. And sadly, Costco isn't the only one. In my other main series here on the channel, Laugh While the World Burns, which drops every Sunday morning, I've had several articles in past shows about different grocery stores that was rolling out a similar type credit program. How sad is it when we're even in debt on our groceries? The first 40 years of childhood are always the hardest. Fact check true. If you owned one of these, you probably had a great childhood. Yeah, I did have one of those. And some years later, if I remember right, I also had the Zepco 33 Anniversary Edition. Haven't been fishing for a good number of years now, though. Most of today's society.
You don't understand how bad words hurt.
Literally everyone born before 1995. Yeah, this is definitely true. And the further you go back in previous decades before this, the more true it is. This takes stepping on a Lego to a whole new level. Sorry, I can't. I'm watching a live stream. The best kind, too. Back to the Future was released 40 years ago on July 3rd, 1985. Yeah, definitely a classic movie. You know, it kind of surprises me that there aren't more theaters these days replaying some of the older classic movies, especially with as many that has been remastered in recent years. You might see one once in a while, but not very often. And with all the pathetic movies they've been making in recent years, it's likely that theaters could turn a good profit by replaying the old classics. Not only with a lot of people in our generation, but a lot of the kids and even the younger generations. What do you guys think? Would you go to the theater to watch a remastered version of Back to the Future? Or how about Star Wars? Or a lot of the other classics? 1960s school. Most of this still applied in the 70s and even the 80s for that matter. Do you remember the first original seatbelt? Yeah, and even after seatbelts was in every vehicle, most people never used them. So this was still the norm. The older you get, the more you realize time is the real treasure. Yeah, once a moment passes, you can't get it back. And when you look back at all the years gone by, you realize just how short all those years really were. I miss the days when shouting, "Not it," was an effective way of getting out of things you didn't want to do. If only it was that easy today. When kids ask me why people in old photos have red eyes, I tell them they're too young to remember the demon uprising of 1980. Not many people know this, but it actually began in the early 1970s. That's what the movie Exorcist was based on. However, by time 1980, it pretty much just came true. It's kinda like another certain 1980s movie that the title was between 1983 and 1985. And no, I'm not gonna say the year, the guy's name, nor the book, because even mentioning those things could possibly get the video demonetized. And no, I'm not kidding. Who remembers the fountain pen? These instruments of destruction ruin more shirts than rodeo cowboys. You operate a lever or pump the pin to suck ink into the reservoir. If the cotton picking thing leaked, you had a blue pocket for the rest of your day. It wouldn't just be blue for the rest of the day, it'd be like that from now on, because you just didn't throw a shirt away just because it got some ink on it. You just turned it into some of your work clothes. You see, son, people don't want to hear your opinion. They want to hear their opinion coming out of your mouth. Now, read that in the voice of Foghorn Leghorn. I was mistaken. Apparently you can take it with you. You can, but only so far. Bill Paxton, the only actor who has been unalived by a Terminator, an alien, and a Predator. But he survived a twister. I wish I could take my brain out and blow on it to make it work like a Nintendo 64 game. Really? Nintendo 64? How about the original Nintendo? Or even some of the older systems? I hate it when people ask me if I did anything exciting over the weekend. Like I'm over here skydiving. I'm old. I went to Walmart, did some laundry, ate too much food, and took a nap. And many of us are blessed just to be able to do these things. Welcome to your senior years, where you get mad when they rearrange the grocery store. Yeah, because it takes you 10 times as long to go through and find what you needed. Only a true old-timer will be familiar with this, and that's just kind of sad in my opinion. I bet many of you will know what these women are doing. Who's old enough to remember switchboard operators? Did any of you guys ever see a bicycle made like this? Because I know that I never did. And if we had of, they would have probably been the kid that got made fun of. Free. Present this card at McDonald's, and it's good for one 100% pure beef hamburger, served hot off the grill on toasted bun, along with piping hot golden French fries. I wouldn't tell anyone if I won the lottery, but there would be signs. Literally a lava lamp, or in this case, a lava chandelier. This photo was submitted by one of my viewers, Nick, who took his vehicle in for new tires. The owner of the garage had this posted on the wall. And look, it even has wood paneling. Many people won't see it. If you see the problem with this picture, just write "seen it" down in the comments. Did your mom or dad ever burn your toast and scrape it off and serve it anyway? Yes, they did. Actually, I don't mind burnt toast. This needs a little extra butter. You can do it. Danny Trejo believes in you. I've reached that age where everything I think happened 2 to 3 years ago really happened back in 2003. Yeah, you get to thinking about something, and you're telling somebody about something that happened, and you start out saying, well, that was about a year or two ago, or 5, maybe 10. The ultimate chick flick. 2 women fighting over a pair of shoes. Well, they're not wrong. That pretty much sums up the premise of the movie. Pizza shop workers took down an armed robber, but when police took off his mask, they discovered he was their old boss. Boy, what kind of Scooby-Doo shit is this? You have to admit, that could definitely be an episode of Scooby-Doo. Actually, there's probably already an episode that fits this. I just don't know if it'd be a pizza restaurant or not. Childhood smells. A box of crayons. Freshly mowed grass. Play-Doh. Grandma's cooking. Wet pavement after the rain. Dirt. Swimming pools. The inside of a book. especially an old book that's been closed up in a library for a long time. A new doll. Lightning bugs, which all of us that caught lightning bugs and put them in a jar, we know exactly what this means. A bonfire on a cold night. Mimeographed copies. Gasoline. Cake batter. Band-aids. Markers. Creepy crawlers. Baby lotion. Lunchbox. And breakfast cooking. You guys think they missed some here? What would be the most important one that you would add to this list? When the telephone was tied to a wire, humans were free. Well, at least a lot more so than today. Trust the government or fight a bear? Me. Yeah, absolutely. Because then at least we'd have a chance. We had a playroom growing up. It was called outside. Yeah, everything from playing in the dirt to catching crawdads in the creek, and everything in between. A lot of kids have no clue what this is or what it's used for. Its uses was multi-purpose. Who remembers these guys? Harpo, Chico, and Groucho Marx, also known as the Marx Brothers. Oh, I really do miss Kansas, Toto. And Styx, Foreigner, Aerosmith, Boston, Pink Floyd, and Led Zeppelin. What all other bands would you guys add to this list? Drop it down below in the comments. One important thing that must be beside your bed at night. A cordless hole puncher. And second would be a glass of cold water. I love watermelons. You read that wrong. You read that wrong too. This is how you fail exams. Maybe for some, I usually just failed exams because I didn't bother to study. You know you're getting old when your favorite rock stars now look like grandmas. Bon Jovi still looks pretty good for his age. He does a lot of great charity work, too. Kids today will never know the struggles of landing that needle perfectly between two songs. Well, there are new record players since vinyl albums are starting to become popular again. I wonder if the new record players are able to pick up the needle and skip to the next track. I wonder when the Bermuda Triangle stopped working. Not a lot of drama going on there anymore. No, it's still happening. There's just so many worse events happening all across the earth today that things like that don't even get reported anymore. I'm so old, I remember when climate change was called spring, summer, autumn, and winter. That is very true, and it was also before all the climate engineering as well. We've lived long enough to witness the rise and fall of common sense. If it was measurable, I don't think most people today has enough common sense to fill a teaspoon. Aren't you thankful your childhood happened before technology took over? Yes, we are. That's for sure. Having technology is one thing, but today it's pretty much all-consuming. And it's only going to get worse in the near future. Ghostbusters actor Ernie Hudson, who played Winston Zeddemore, auditioned to voice the same character in the animated series, but was rejected because producers felt he didn't sound enough like Winston from the movie. The role instead went to Arsenio Hall and later Buster Jones. This is something I did not know, and that's just kind of crazy, honestly. How many of you guys remember when laptops first started being released, and how extremely expensive that they were? This video here is from around 1988. I'd love to know what the prices would be if you adjusted them for inflation today.
Real quick, what's the prices here on these three machines we've seen, Keith?
This one's list price at $49.99. This one goes for $95 or $11 grand, depending on the drive.
Kevin?
This is $79.99 without modem, 2 megabytes, 40 megabyte hard disk, and $84.99 with a...
Gentlemen, thank you. We're going to be talking more about laptops in just a minute. Pretty much laptops have been in the PC domain with very few exceptions. No real Macintosh laptop, though we know Macintosh is going to come out with a laptop very soon. We sent Wendy Woods out to try to find out what's going to be inside that new Mac laptop.
According to journalists, the laptop, due to be introduced at Macworld in Boston in August, will have several trailblazing features. A battery capable of operating for 12 hours between charges, a lightweight hard disk, and a revolutionary new screen. Drawbacks include the machine's weight, an estimated 15 pounds, and its price, in the area of $6,500. But insiders expect it to be a popular and important new addition to the Macintosh line.
It's a necessary device so that we can travel with our Macs. Businesses are going to love it. It's going to be yet another product that's going to sell very quickly and very profitably for Apple. Their third product in a row on the Mac SE30, the Mac 2 CX, and now a transportable. It's going to put Apple back in the mainstream and gain a lot of market share for them.
We lived back in a day that even our toys could smoke cigarettes. No one will know what this is. I think most of the guys of our generation and before will know exactly what these are and what they're used for. How Gen X kids looked coming home after playing outside all day. Yeah, that's pretty much true. Real photo. Back in the day, you could have ended someone with these. Extra tip, put a paperclip in the center before you fold it up.
Full legal disclosure. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Do not implement anything mentioned in this video. If you do, you will only have yourself to blame.
How many of you guys remember Fuzzy Wuzzy bath soap? The amazing soap that grows fur. Looking at it now, it looks like it was some kind of mold or something. A butterfly style double-edged razor. I have a butterfly razor that's similar to this, but it's a much newer model compared to this one. Back in the day, if we got hurt, we didn't sue. We laughed and did it again. It's very true. I'd say most of my viewers know exactly what this is. But for those who don't or may have forgotten, here's a hint. They came in sets of 2. The average time for things to break down: 5 years, 10 to 12 years, 80 years, 100 years, 450 years. Me. It's sad, but pretty much true, especially in the past 6 months or so. I have to say, that is a pretty nice stick. Cultural Enrichment presents Incenses of the World. Japanese, Thailand, Arabian, Canadian. That ain't just Canadian. We had a lot of those back in the day. How many of you guys remember these? And if you do, what were they for? Remember to start drinking lots of water and stay indoors between 11 a.m. and November the 1st. Fact check true. Just remember to keep your electrolytes up too. Ozzy Osbourne once joined a Christian protest march against himself outside one of his concerts. The biggest joke on mankind is that computers have started asking humans to prove that they are not a robot. This must be a meme from a long time ago. However, on this coming Sunday show, I actually have a news article that's talking about how AI will now check the box saying that they are not a robot. As if that's surprising to us in some way. Things that scared Gen X. Nuclear war, quicksand, sleaze tag, AIDS, Coca-Cola and Pop Rocks, Brady Bunch Idol, And at the moment, we're back to square one. The best thing about being over 50? We did all of our stupid stuff before the invention of the internet, so there's no proof. Studies show that people with more birthdays live longer. You know what the sad part is? I truly believe that there's some of the younger generation that wouldn't get this. In the 50s, no Botox, no ripped jeans, no silicone, just grace and elegance. I know there's a lot of boomers here on the channel. Do you guys agree with this? Some legends are never forgotten, especially in Kansas. It only takes 3 generations for you to be basically forgotten. Tell that to my great uncle, who is the reason that it's illegal to drive a tractor while drunk in the state of Kansas. No one told us backyard sprinkler days would become the memories we'd chase for the rest of our lives. Good times. I'm positive no one here will know what this is. If you do, you're old. Is it getting that bad, guys, that nobody even knows what a soldering iron is? I still use these quite often, especially when I'm trying to repair something. The most reliable truck ever built. No matter if you're a fan of Chevy, Ford, Dodge, GM, or others, I think most of us can all agree that this was the best truck ever built. And oftentimes, they've lasted longer than the real counterparts. Don't mess with me. I'm a wooden spoon, lead paint, no car seat, no bike helmet, pickup bed riding, garden hose drinking, survivor. Very true. Also sounds like a good t-shirt. Let me know if you guys would be interested in a design like this. Don't piss off old people. The older we get, the less life in prison is a deterrent. My dad collected AOL CDs like he was prepping for the apocalypse. Like someday we'd be trading 1,000 free hours for bread and gasoline. I remember when the AOL CDs were just everywhere. Like you go to Walmart up near the checkouts or anything, there'd be stacks of them. A lot of other stores too. Remember when your mom would bake and you'd get to lick the beaters? Those were the days. And clean out the bowl with a spatula too. Kids today will never experience this level of excitement, nor the disappointment when you actually get them back. Here's an article I come across a week or two ago. Robin Williams' Popeye had the most film set, and everyone says former studio boss. They were shipping substances and film canisters. Makes you wonder about how many other movies was made this way. The fabulous weird checklist. Give yourself 1 point for each thing you've never done. Operated a rotary phone. Slid a floppy disk into a PC. Typed on an actual typewriter. Snapped photos with a film camera. Played music on a CD. Really? That actually made it onto this list? Rewound a cassette tape with a pencil. Dropped the needle on a vinyl record. Rocked a Walkman like a rebel. Blasted tunes from a boombox on your shoulder. Watched a movie on VHS and prayed it didn't jam. Sent or received a fax like a business wizard. Recorded songs from the radio like a mixtape hero. Rented a VHS at Blockbuster on a Friday night. Heard the screech of dial-up internet. Looked up someone in a phone book. Sent a postcard with actual handwriting. Used a paper map and didn't get lost. Owned a proper dusty dictionary. Had a whole encyclopedia collection. Well, I got 0 points. How about all of you? How did you score? How many of you guys remember doing this? Gen X Starter Pack. Raised by TV, ignored by boomers, feared by millennials. Still here, still unbothered, still don't care. Still mostly forgotten and ignored, too. At least until the country collapses, then everyone will expect us to do things for them. This dude had no business going this hard in the 1980s. Why does the snowman look like one of those South Park cartoon characters? If you know these guys, pension is close. The first person to say it's cold this winter is getting a knuckle sandwich. Yeah, right now, with as hot as it is, I'm kinda looking forward to winter. Of course, after about the first month, we'll get tired of it. I just learned that the American Psychological Association defines middle age as beginning at 35. That's just sad to say the least. And yet, retirement age is 67 now. That way, by their average, they would only have to pay you 3 years of Social Security after you've spent a lifetime paying into it. And from what I've heard, a lot of people that wait until the full retirement age, whether it's 65 or 67, that in reality, with what extra that they get paid for waiting those extra years, most people will never make back the amount of money that they lost by not retiring at 62. Just something to think about for some of us at least. But with the way things are going, I bet most of us Gen X and later will never make it there to begin with. Because I seriously doubt that Social Security will be around a whole lot longer. Especially with the way that Congress have stolen everything. This is why my generation grew up so sarcastic. And I'll end today's show with this. The real luxuries in life. According to society, luxury is cars, expensive clothes, a lavish lifestyle. But the real luxuries are slow mornings, freedom to choose, a good night's sleep, man ain't that the truth, peace of mind, calm and quiet days, being present, people you love, and people who love you back. If you enjoyed today's show, please like and share the video. I'll see all of you back here on Sunday's show. Until then, I thank you all for watching. You guys take care and stay safe out there. This is Akorn, over and out.